Hi everyone, name's Dennis. We are here on behalf of the Northeast Zonal Forum Fellowship Development. And the way that NEZF FD handles this is we receive a request for a service or a workshop, and then we go to our human resource pool and grab people that fit what that workshop needs to be and ask if they can facilitate that. So Lewis and I were asked to facilitate this workshop. So I'm going to ask Lewis to introduce himself briefly and then take over for the first slide. Lewis?
Yeah, hi, I'm Lewis. I'm an addict. Great to be here today. Many of you may remember me. I got clean actually in CMP region in 1987. I didn't do a lot of service when I was there. And when I moved to Chicago in '03, I started doing a lot more service. And so I'm really grateful for the opportunity to see some peeps I got clean with. And it's really my pleasure to be here. I also want to I was there when the Central Maryland area split up, and they were talking about I'm the RCM from Mars, Montgomery area, and we are actually doing a skit today based on the planet of Mars. Is some interesting stuff there. So the topic today we're talking about is consensus-based decision making, and part of the challenge with this is really a general sense that there are some concerns with Robert's Rules of Order. Not that anyone really follows them completely, because after all, they are 816 pages, of which 699 are considered essential. There is a 5-page cheat sheet, and by the way, this information was provided by our dear friend Chris R., who is the chair of the NEZF Fellowship Development Committee. And so basically, there's lots of rules, requirements, niceties that can be manipulated and slow things down. We've all been part of a session, for example, when there's a seconded motion and everyone knew it was, everyone supported it, but yet we had to go through the process of Robert's rules to pass something that could have been done a lot faster. And it can also be very divisive. It creates an us versus them atmosphere. It makes compromise difficult when you're following these strict, requirements. And the basic question is, just a simple majority reflect God's will. One thing that I learned about Robert's rules from going to the World Service Conference is that it's not universal. There are a lot of parts of the world that don't use Robert's Rules of Order, and a lot of RDs were coming up and say, "Oh, what's Robert's Rules? I have no idea. I've never heard of it before." And so, it's not like it's necessarily a standard everywhere. So our answer to that is da 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 da. Consensus-based decision making, which is a different approach. And I'm going to turn it back over to Dennis, who has a couple of excellent slides to explain it really nicely. So, Dennis, back to you.
Thank you, Lewis. So let's talk about what's different about CBDM. Well, CBDM is less about the decision and more about the conscience. Both CBDM and Robert's Rules of Order are processes we can follow to come to a decision, but they each have different priorities in their approach to making that decision. With Robert's Rules, the focus is on making the decision, competitively between pro and con, back and forth trying to win a pass or a fail. With CBDM, the focus is on building our decision collaboratively with our voices to move forward together. CBDM decisions are decisions made together in the belief that it is more important that we move forward together than it is that we just move forward. Some of the key points that support that collaborative decision building are that when our decisions are based in consensus, we understand that everyone has a piece of the truth, no one has all of it. But if everyone has a piece of the truth, we have to make sure that we can hear that truth, so decisions based in consensus give more opportunity for voices to be heard. Most consensus-based decision-making processes actively seek out the minority voice to make sure our decision is truly built together. Consensus-based decision-making simply is a shift in focus on I need to be heard to I need you to be heard. And very importantly, CBDM is not a rigid process. There are no set guidelines for the right way to practice CBDM, and very often, the belief that there is a perfectly right version of CBDM goes against the core principles and flexibility embodied by consensus-based decision-making. And back to Lewis.
Hello. Okay, I'm Lewis. I'm an addict again. So basically, my experience with consensus-based decision making is really based on being facilitator of the Chicagoland region and also other things we're doing at the Chicagoland region. And one thing we've discovered is that over time, everyone feels a part of the process and learns to trust it. We've been doing it for 15 years or even longer, and anyone will tell you it's a lot easier to accept an unfavorable outcome if you are in a very small minority. Just last week, we had someone who was very much opposed to something, one, but he recognized that he was part of a small minority, and he was okay to accept that. Um, as I'll explain in a minute, Chicagoland has an 80% consensus. And so there's really no need to manipulate the process, no stacking two pros, two cons in Robert's rules, as we've all experienced at some time or another. And easy decisions come quick. I mean, if no one disagrees on the first straw poll, just move on. Tough decisions may take a bit more time, but the final solution is always better when everyone has had a voice and all ideas have been considered. Less than full consensus is rare. We don't take many votes at Chicagoland because most people are on board. They know they've been heard, they know their ideas have been considered, and they say, okay, fine, we'll go with it.